Hey everybody, welcome back to the Frugal Filmmaker Q&A. That's the show where you ask me a question and I try to answer it, but remember, it's just my opinion. If you'd like your question read on the show, please send me an email to thefrugalfilmmaker@gmail.com. That's the best chance you have of getting your question read on the show. You can also leave a comment below, or you can send me a message on Twitter @FrugalFilmmaker. My video last week was called Using Socialblade to Analyze Other YouTube Channels. And Socialblade is a website that you can type any YouTube channel name into, and it will give you all kinds of stats that will allow you to see how well that channel is doing. You can check out their subs, monthly, weekly, daily, averages, as well as views, and even potential earning, which I think is kind of nebulous. I'm going to talk about that in a minute later today. But it's a great website, it's free, and I think you should check it out, or at least check out my video to kind of see what it's all about. Our first question comes from a comment on that video, the Socialblade video, from Daniel H., who says, "The monthly income amounts give such a wide range. Does anyone know if the upper range is realistic?" Daniel's referring to Socialblade, and they give kind of a range of each day of what your potential earnings could be, or the channel's earnings could be. And for me, my personal experience has been that it kind of falls within the middle. It's not necessarily the low end or the high end. I mean, there's no way to verify how much money you're going to make per day on your YouTube channel or what other channels are going to make, so it's just a range. The most interesting thing about those numbers is the minimum. If you look at really, really big channels and look at their minimums that they're supposed to be earning, it's pretty sobering. You can obviously make a lot of money on YouTube. Even if you're just looking at the minimums or earning those minimums, you could definitely make a living. Our next question comes from emails from Ray Watts, who says, "Could you maybe talk a little bit about the rig you're using in the Q&A videos? To hear about the camera and the sound setup would be interesting, especially the large follow focus gear." Ray's referring to the picture I showed last week because I had the Versabrella attached over my camera because I was kind of shooting in the rain a little bit. I showed a still of my setup, which many of you are probably already familiar with, but let's take a closer look. Okay, as many of you know, I use the Frugal cage, and this is just a low-cost cage rig, which I made a video about, several videos about in the past, lots of them in fact. This is kind of the stripped down version. Now notice I still have the focus gear here, which is from the Frugal Follow Focus from a long time ago, but I don't have the focus knob that I usually have in the Frugal cage because obviously I don't need to pull focus when I'm shooting this show, so I just leave that off because I can store the Frugal cage and my camera rather easily in a toolbox, and I don't need that extra focus gear. It just makes it bigger and more bulky, and I don't use the knob that much except when I'm shooting narratives. Here we have the external power right here, which I made a video about also. That's what's powering my camera. Again, this is a stripped down setup, so I don't have the second battery, which is what I use to power my external monitor, which I'm not using currently. So this is just a basic, really stripped down setup. As you can see here, all that's really on here is the camera and the follow focus gear, which just makes it easier to focus when I'm setting up at the beginning. Just a little bit easier. I can just pull on the gear instead of the actual lens. And everything else is just kind of sitting here doing nothing. This is normally where I have my external monitor on one of these arms right here, and the second one I usually have for audio or something else. It's really handy. I probably use this most often of any of the things that I've built, I think. It's just come in very handy, and I think it looks clean, looks good. I can take it on any kind of a set or client shoot and I won't be embarrassed. It doesn't look too DIY. It just looks like a camera cage. Now, as far as audio goes, of course, I'm using the Radio Shack clip-on mic right here. This is the Radio Shack 33-3013. I've been using it forever. It sounds pretty decent when going into the Zoom H1 here, a dedicated audio recorder. Many of you know this is my go-to audio recorder. I use it for pretty much everything, whether it's narrative shorts or the Q&A like this. This is what I'm recording on right now. I think it sounds pretty good. I'm working on video right now to make a little windscreen for my lav mic, or a fuzzy windscreen, because recently the wind's been blowing a little bit and I've been worried about wind noise. But I use the same setup every single week and it serves me well, so I just keep using it. Our next question comes from Sebastian Tiplia, who says, "Basically, I'm interested by a video I saw where a guy had adapted one of those new power banks to charge a DSLR by using a dummy battery. Would you like to open our brains on how and should we do this?" Well, I think this is a great idea, and it's something I've done myself. As I just showed you, I have an external battery connected to a battery tray that's connected to a dummy battery going right into my camera. So these dummy batteries come in different flavors. You mentioned you have a 600D or a 60D in America, is what it's called. And they are all over eBay. You can get these little dummy batteries and they just have little plugs. Normally they come with AC power, so you can just unplug the AC power and connect a battery. I explained how to do this in my own external battery video. I made a couple of them actually, but the current one I'm using I can send a link to, or put a link below, YouTube card, whatever. You can kind of see how I did it. And other people that have used 60Ds have the same exact setup. They just get basically the proper dummy battery from eBay and they unplug the AC power that connects to it. It's really easy to set up. It's really awesome. This battery will power my camera all day, and the same thing applies basically to the Anchor setup, the Anchor brand. It's just a large USB battery. I worked on a set where a guy was using it to power a Blackmagic pocket camera or a Blackmagic camera. It's just a big flat battery. He Velcroed it right to his rig, and just ran the USB or whatever, the power connector going right out into the camera itself. If you do long shoots, it's a really great idea, and I really like mine. So check out those videos if it interests you, or I'll leave some links below to some other videos that have used your specific camera, not mine. Outdoor shooting. Our next question comes from Anil P. Can you tell me what are the best cloth colors for indoor and outdoor subjects / actors for interviews and short films? Well, of course, this opens up a whole floodgate of things, colors on camera. The basic rule is, as far as to stay away from problems, is you don't put somebody in white or you don't put somebody in black. White will cause a humongous hot spot and black will absorb light incredibly. So you usually have to find something in the middle. Of course, you can break these rules if you know what you're doing. But if you're just shooting standard talking heads and that kind of thing, I would avoid black or avoid white. I used to work at a TV station, and the video engineer would always freak out when the news anchor's in a two-shot. One would wear black, one would wear white. Use something that's close to those colors. You can use dark colors. I'm wearing a dark color now, but it's not black or dark blue, so it's not that hard to deal with image-wise. Colors in a short film can mean all kinds of things. Colors have a lot of symbolic meaning. You can look up on the web what different colors mean. But utilize that definitely. If you've ever seen a movie like House of Flying Daggers or Hero, where the colors are just super vibrant, it's really amazing. But even if they're not super vibrant, you could have a desaturated look. You could have a combination of the two. You can do all kinds of things with colors. I would recommend just watching a lot of movies and see what the filmmakers use color for, see what mood they create. Color is just like anything else in a film, whether it's editing or acting or lighting. It all plays a part in telling your story. So utilize those colors, use the colors to emphasize a character or define a character. That's another thing you can really do. But again, this is a humongously open-ended question. It's definitely something that you could do a video series about, using color in costumes or clothes to tell your story, or in an interview or whatever. But one thing I always found fascinating was that politicians, if you notice, almost always wear red ties. And why is that? Because the tie acts like an arrow to the face. That red points right at their face. That's where they want you to be looking. So even in a non-narrative situation, color plays a humongous role, and it's something you should always pay attention to. It's really important. Like a lot of filmmaking topics, you could study this kind of thing your whole life and always be learning, which is what you should be doing anyway. Finally, we have a question from last week's Q&A from Nate James, who says, do you know of a good and free script writing software to use, or can you do a future video about script writing? Yes, I'd love to do a video about script writing. It's really, really important as far as free software goes. I still use Celtx, although I don't use the cloud version because I don't like the way they force you to use the cloud now. I'd rather have something that was standalone. And I still like Celtx. A lot of people have moved on to other things. You can buy software. There's other free software. I don't know of any other software right now other than Celtx. If you find a version of it that you can download that's not cloud-based, that's what I would recommend. There are other versions out there that are free. If any of you out there know of any free versions, please comment below, let everybody know, including Nate, about this free software. Again, I use Celtx, but it's an older version, so it's not updated anymore because I don't like the cloud and I don't want to pay a monthly fee to write scripts. I think I can do it just fine with the standalone version. So that's what I use. That's all the questions we have this week. I'd like to thank everybody for writing in. If you have a question you'd like answered on the show, please send me an email to frugalfilmmaker@gmail.com. That's your best chance of having it read on the show. You can also leave a comment below or send me a message on Twitter @frugalfilmmaker. I'll have a new video coming up this week and a Q&A again on Monday, which I believe is Trivia Monday. So stay tuned for that. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you then.